This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Sean Cole, and today we're here to talk about the Forza family of games and everything they had going on at E3 2014. At the Xbox booth, Forza and all of its games took up about 25% of the overall booth. On one side, you had Forza Motorsport 5 and the recently released version of Nurburgring running on triple screens with this dedicated rig with the Mad Catz steering wheel and pedal set. Then on the other side, you had Forza Horizon 2 running on 8 different gaming stations with everybody using gamepad controllers trying out the latest version of that. And then you had a really cool Lamborghini dividing the two and the Forza Horizon trailer playing up on the screen between them. It was actually quite a great sight and a lot of space again at the Xbox booth being dedicated to motorsports, and I love seeing that. So now let's talk about each piece that we did get to see or explore while we were there, starting with Forza Motorsport 5. Now, this was last year's release, so it wasn't as big a deal, but they were again showing off the green hell. Nurburgring, one of my all-time favorite tracks, a track that I think many people think is one of their favorite tracks. And again, like I mentioned, they had it in triple screens with the Mad Catz wheel and pedals, which I'll get to in a little while. So when I got my shot on this rig, I was focusing a lot on the driving experience, but also visually, I was looking at Nurburgring, and I was blown away by the graphics, the amount of detail, and just, the amount of elevation change that is so great about this track. It's a laser scan version, and I've talked to friends who've driven this track in real life, and they say it is spot on as far as the track accuracy goes. They also did bring in a lot of the features of Nurburgring as far as off-the-track stuff goes, and then other parts were somewhat simplified with just sort of trees lining the entire way. But it gave you that incredible feeling of that narrowness that makes that track so special, that never-ending amount of corners, that never-ending track it seems at times. And for those of you who have a lot of experience with it, you might remember every last corner, which is a miracle in its own. Now, what makes having this track in this game so special to me is it's, number one, such a beautiful version of the track. Number two, I don't know if you've noticed, but over the years, more and more car companies are going to the ring and using it as a testing ground and challenging other car companies, whether it's Cadillac or BMW or whoever who's setting the latest track record in a certain type of car. It goes on every day at that track. And now I can see in Forza every day a new hot lap competition going on to see who can set the fastest time in whatever car, and this might be one of the most competitive things to do in Forza right now. Now let's move on to the Mad Catz Pro wheel, and this is the first time that I've actually got to see and hold one in my hands. Mad Catz has been extremely tight with information, details about this wheel. It's still on pre-order, so it's very hard to really get a good feeling for this wheel just yet. Now, from what I did see, I can tell you it's a combination of plastic and metal. They've got an Alcantara-ish type coating on the outside of the rim that makes it feel real nice. It's got a great button layout. You've got good paddle shifters on it that turn with the wheel. They're not static. The base itself of the wheel is a very small box that resembles some of the direct drive motors of some of the high-end wheels you're going to be seeing coming out in the next couple of years. But this actually is a dual motor design that works a lot like the G27 in theory. So it also is modular like the Thrustmaster Fanatic, meaning you're going to be able to pull that wheel rim off and use other wheel rims later. I'm assuming they'll have a Formula 1, maybe an oval wheel, who knows, but that's the approach they're going for. The pedal set is a 2-pedal set. They are both spring and potentiometer type pedals with adjustable springs. You can also adjust the rake of the pedals. Now, for my first impressions of this wheel, and it's very hard to say because at E3 we never know what we're going to get to really change or adjust or dial in for us. This is running it on Forza Motorsport 5 on the Xbox One. Overall, the force feedback felt a little on the weak side, but I don't know. Was that the wheel? Was it the game? Was it just the settings they had at E3? I don't know. Another thing that I'll tell you is it felt like there's a lot of center spring in the wheel, and usually that's something I dial out of any other wheel when I get it home and get to use it for my own personal use, and that's something that I would immediately be doing with this wheel again for proper testing, which is again why it's really hard to say what it really felt like. Now it is obvious to me that with this wheel, Mad Catz is definitely going after that mid to high-end wheel and going after a different sim racing market than they've ever gone after before. Now let's move on to Forza Horizon 2, which is really the biggest reason we were at the Xbox booth. Now Forza Horizon 2 is made by Playground Games once again, and I gotta tell you, these guys might be the luckiest game developers in all of sim racing because they start off with the entire physics engine from Forza Motorsport. It is the exact same engine. They also start off with the exact same graphics engine from Forza Motorsport 5, the exact same engine. These two things are there, ready to go. Then you got a huge library of cars, which they picked 200 of their favorites, I'm assuming, and that's what they started the game with. Now that makes it sound like Playground Games just kind of ended right there, but that's not the case. Now is where they take over, and they go to that work with doing an open world, but still keeping that racing type environment. It's got a lot of gaminess in it compared to Forza Motorsport, but it's not so over the top that everything's about explosions. You're still being held to a certain amount of criteria by the Turn 10 and the Forza franchise, and that keeps it on point for a really solid driving game. Now, as I mentioned, this is Forza Horizon 2, so it's not just building upon the first version. We have a total change of scenery. This time it takes place in Southern Europe, and it gives you over 3 times as much driving area as its previous version of the game. They have 700 different missions built into this, and it's going to take you over 100 hours of continuous play to actually complete the game in its single-player mode. Now at E3, everything's about controlled, limited exposure to various different games, titles, and products, and that was the case for Horizon as well. You had one single-player mission. You could choose from 3 different cars. You had the Lamborghini that is on the turntable next to you. It's on the video above you. It's on the cover of the game. You also had the Corvette Stingray and a Nissan GTR. Any of the 3 could be driven on that single-player mission. That mission gave you a really good demonstration of what to expect from Forza Horizon 2. A combination of open world, but still a closed circuit race. There was a starting line, a finish line, and a destination. A lot of times you were stuck to one road, but other times you were given opportunity to drive through anything or take a shortcut or a detour. And that's typical of Horizon, and I think what a lot of people are looking for out of this title. And it looks like, once again, they've done a very good job of that. Forza Horizon will also feature day-to-night transitions, and it's even going to have rain in the game with windshield wipers, and when you're in the water, it's going to affect the handling of the game, and that's very good as well. So once again at E3, we have another game that I wanted to know it deserved to be played on a steering wheel. Now with Forza Horizon versus Forza Motorsports, admittedly there is a slight difference. It's the exact same game, and when you have all the driving aids turned off, it is 1-to-1. They are equal in terms of driving experience, and that's when I want to be using a steering wheel. Now on the flip side, when you turn all the driving aids on, you actually have Forza Horizon coming in a little bit lower or gamier, easier to drive than Motorsports. And that's because obviously they're going after a slightly different intended audience. This game is definitely motorsports driven like Forza, but it's definitely going after more of the arcade or even general gaming market, and that's a good thing to draw more sim racers in. Forza Horizon 2 is available September 30th. I, for one, will be looking forward to getting a copy, trying it out, doing some of that open world multiplayer with some of you out there. I hope you've enjoyed this brief look at the Green Hell, the Mad Catz wheel, and Forza Horizon 2. Please comment on this video, go to our website, check out other videos just like this one, comment on the videos at our website, and I'll be sure to get involved in that conversation as well. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.